It's War Dragon time, RPW, with another event guide. Today we're going to go over the feeding event because it is currently being kicked off within War Dragons. Now, this event only happens once every season, so if you're not doing too great right now in this event, particularly if you're low level, that seems to be a very common problem across the entire game, then it's time to prepare for your next event. So I've put together this short little guide to kind of help everybody prepare for their next feeding. This may not help with this one, but it certainly will with the next. I have brought up my daughter's account. She's a level 62, and she really doesn't prep her dragons very much. So it's a great opportunity to show you what I mean by points. Now, PG has made this very challenging in order to gain points for most low-level players. So with this being said, the only way you're going to be able to get high points if you're low level is if you've prepped your dragons, you have a bunch of event dragons that you've hoarded back on, or you're willing to spend a bunch of money. So let's kind of go through this. You need to spend 10 food on your perch or your dragon to get 1 point. And every time you purchase XP, 7 of them, you also get 1 point. So it is a very challenging event, and I think PG really has screwed over a lot of players on their point system on this if you compare it to the fortification event. And let's not forget the fact that they gave so many feeding boosts or food boosts to everybody that, I mean, it's almost going to be impossible to gather food. So even high level players are actually pretty challenged in this event this round. So with that being said, let's kind of go over what you can do to prepare for this event and get higher points even as a low level, because there will be another one come the beginning of next season. And in order to do so, I'm going to go to a video I created back when I was a level 60 and I was preparing for an upcoming feeding event. I think it was like 2 weeks out, so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what you can do in order to prepare for the feeding event. So this is the video I created, and I'm not going to let you guys listen to it. It is on my YouTube channel. I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I had discussed with everyone. But basically what I did is I hoarded XP on my dragons, and I did daily attacks with them to prepare for the feeding event. So if you'll look right here in the roster, you'll see all of these orange, bars above all of my dragons because they needed to be trained up. They needed to be fed. So when I scroll back, you'll see that I even went back to older dragons that weren't experted, and I also got them up with some XP. Now, the problem with just building up XP is you don't know if you're wasting your time, right? So one of the ways I made sure that I didn't overdo my XP is I literally wrote down every dragon's name and what level they were so I could go through and figure this math out by using the fandom website, like with Druid here. I wrote down that he was a level 10 and that he could go to level 20, and I wrote down how much XP he had, and then I went through beyond that and I added up on each and every one of these what he would need in XP to get to the next level, all the way until it got down to expert. So once I did this, and I did this with every dragon I had, I would go through and I would make a list of each and every dragon, what level they were currently at, and how much more XP they needed in order to get max. Now, some say 0 here, and that's because I had wrote the list and I was done, so I just put 0. But whenever you do this, it's going to let you see, okay, this one's done, so I don't need to build anything more on that, because otherwise you're just wasting your time when you could be working on other dragons. And I would make sure I did this specifically when the multipliers were in. And then once I'd finished them, I'd cross them off my list. So you can imagine if I go up 9 levels like with grip, it's going to be a decent amount of food being fed out to my dragon. All right, so that means rule number 1, do not feed your dragon outside of it needing to be breedable. And really, you don't have to go as far as I did where you write down exactly what you've got and what you need. But if you remember those, basically you don't need to feed your dragon beyond the point of breedable unless it's a dragon that you need in order to defeat a base. Most of the dragons you're going to breed under platinum level are not going to be your go-to dragon. Most of your go-to dragons, once you get an event dragon, are going to be the event dragons. So I would allow myself to only level up 1 or 2 of my strongest dragons from the event, and I would hoard all the rest of the XP. Now, if you look now at those same dragons, now that I'm a 150 something, the dragons from back in the past are completely experted because I've used them through 2 events. And I usually always have leftovers that I can forward into my next event because of this. So this didn't only prepare me for that feeding, but it prepared me for future feedings, which is good because I've since gotten much busier. Now that brings me to rule number 2. So of course, like I said, you're going to hold back on your XP building on feeding your dragon. But rule number 2 is utilizing your XP bases every day. So if you've got a dragon that can build up some XP on it, make sure every day you choose a few that you take in for their maximum XP, because they're going to get multipliers on them. So like at the bottom you see here, times 5, times 4, etc. These dragons are going to get more. Now you can use the base called free XP 280. If you don't know how to use this base to get your maximum XP, be sure to check out my video. I will include it in the description below. But I would literally go in and I would utilize this back when I was level 60 for all of these dragons almost every day. It was intense, but I ended up with like over 1 million points. So I was pretty excited. And then if you're above that level of being able to really get max XP on free 280, you can use this space. It's called Andy K123. I just uploaded a video about that, and I will include that in the video's description below so that you can learn how to use this base too. It is a fantastic base if you're higher level and you're not really getting your maximum XP on the free XP 280 anymore. Now, notice again, guys, there's the 5 times, the 4 times, etc. on my dragons currently. You can utilize this to your advantage. So be sure to check that out. Now, you also need to make sure that the dragon that you're building XP on isn't, for example, an event dragon that is maxed out. Like he can't go any further on his stone because you didn't go that far. Otherwise, you're just wasting XP. You don't need that extra XP. Just leave it be, unless you're one that wants to spend the money on otherwise. So outside of prepping for the breeding event, do not train your dragons. Once it's to breeding, leave it be. Just let it stack up. I love seeing that orange on mine personally. Like, it just makes me feel like I'm doing something right and that I'm going to be ready for the next feeding event. And I mean, to the point that sometimes I'm like, I don't want to feed this dragon because now it's not going to be orange and I want to have different colors. I don't know. I'm strange like that. So another thing I want to mention is don't use your resources for the future breeding event in order to prepare and get bigger points in this feeding event. Like, don't level up or breed any dragons, for example. So as for this event, I understand it's a challenge, and it really does suck that they've made the points so hard to achieve for lower levels. I really do think they need to fix that in the future. And sadly, they did not fix the boost for the food. So hopefully maybe next season they will. I don't know. But anyways, I hope this video helped everybody out. If you liked my video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for future videos to be notified to you. Happy hunting!